Hello, welcome back to OConnor Racing. This morning what we're working on is a 2009 KTM XC200, and what we're going to show you is we've got a freshly plated cylinder here. I'm going to show you how to prep it, get it ready for assembly, and then we're going to show you how to put the power valves together. Any cylinder that you ever get back from plating has to be cleaned, and they look pretty good coming out of the box, but that's the first mistake you're going to make. Make sure you clean the cylinder. You wipe in the direction of the hash marks just like any other cylinder, but what's really important, and some companies are better at this than others, some just leave a lot of media blast material in these holes. So get a can of brake cleaner or carb cleaner with the hose on it. Go ahead and put the hose down into here and shoot some fluid in it through all the holes at the same time, blow them out with air. That should get most of them clean. So that's a good way to get these holes clean. Other than that, just wipe the dirt out from inside of the cylinder, blow some material inside the transfer ports. I like to go in here with a brush actually and some water and soap and move stuff around and make sure I got a completely clean cylinder. The next thing you're going to have to do is clean all of the power valve parts, and I'll show you what we use to do that. Without a doubt, the most disgusting thing that I have to do in this shop is clean dirty power valves. Some are easier than others. Some can be extremely difficult. If you have a customer that stays on top of his maintenance and does what he's supposed to do, gets in there, cleans them out a couple times a year, it's really not a big deal. It's you guys that run your bikes for 2 years without taking your power valves apart. Those can be very, very, very difficult to clean. This is what we use most of the time, and we can be a lot more aggressive than this if we have to, but this stuff works pretty good. Obviously Napa, I don't think they're going to give me a hard time about trademarking them here. It's carburetor cleaner. That bucket costs probably $20. Kind of neat. You can clean carburetors with it. I have several of these cans. I use this one just for power valves. I don't want you to think I'm mixing your carburetors, and we have a completely different cans for different carburetors. This is just used for power valves. It's the old stuff, and it's neat. It comes with a basket. You can put all your small parts in here, and I'll soak this stuff usually for a couple of days if it's really bad. You know, we got a heads up. We got time on the cylinder and waiting for parts, so as soon as these cylinders come in, we'll get them apart. And the first step is to get it in there for a couple of days. We use hot water to neutralize it. Be very careful if you get this stuff on your hands. You should have gloves on, and it's very corrosive to the human body. It's nothing you want to be playing with. But use gloves, safety goggles, a face shield's even a better idea. Nothing you want to get into your eyes. The other stuff, which is even worse than this is aircraft paint stripper. It's called Tail Strip, made by Marhide, another product we got at Napa. And what I'll do after I get it out of here, if I still have problems, I don't want to spend any time scrubbing stuff, and let this stuff work automatic, and you know, we can do other things while that's cleaning. So what we'll do with this is we just take an acid brush and I'll wipe this in one direction on the contaminated parts, and again I'll let that sit sometimes overnight. I got to caution you, if you're working with aluminum, this stuff can discolor aluminum, so I don't like to put the aluminum in here that long. And I wouldn't put this on any aluminum, so just, you know, steel parts, and that usually gets most of the crud off. If at that point we still need to go farther, some of these parts I'll throw them into a sandblaster or wire brush them, and then final cleaning with carburetor cleaner and just blow everything dry. I'd like to just explain really quick what a power valve does. Looking down in here, this is the top of the exhaust port, and these are the auxiliary exhaust ports. This is in a wide open condition right now. That's going to be beneficial to high RPMs. Probably not the greatest thing for you know, starts or low RPMs. That's where the power valve comes in. The flapper that goes in here is actually going to close off part of the exhaust and lower the timing of the exhaust port. Beneficial to low RPMs, but not beneficial to high. So a power valve gives you the best of both worlds. In a closed state, the controllers in the auxiliary exhaust ports are going to be closed, so those ports are closed, and the flapper is going to be down. As the RPMs of the bike or quad or whatever increase, there's a governor in this motor that's going to move an actuator and open these power valves up, and that's basically all they do. First thing we're going to do, we have everything clean. Cylinder's clean, all my parts are clean, I'm happy with the way everything looks. I'm going to oil these instead of oiling it piece by piece and picking a can up, putting it down, getting stuff everywhere. I just oil it all right out of the gate. So this is just 2-stroke oil. is put the flapper in. Goes in from this side, and then at the top of the cylinder, this is what locks it in. And that just kind of works like that. That's it. Next step is to put in the auxiliary exhaust control valves. You can tell these apart. This is pretty hard to see, but the one on the left has one line scratched on it. That's actually the right if you're sitting on the bike, but that goes in, looking at it this way, that one drops into here. It doesn't matter where it goes for right now. And the one on the right side has two little lines scratched in it, and again, it's almost impossible for you to see, but they're right there. You just go ahead and drop that in, and from there we take the shafts, the pivot for the flapper, and we put new O-rings on, put these in. That's going to engage this flapper valve, and then just screw them in loosely for now. Next piece I'm going to put in is the cam for the flapper valve, the little button on the end, and as the gear actuates this button, it's kind of ingenious setup. All these power valves are. It just moves this around, and that's going to move the flapper valve up and down. Just put that in, get it to engage, like that, and that's it. Next step is I've got these 6 little bushings, and I'm just going to take 3 of them, put them on first, big side down. This is the part where we're going to time the power valves. Pretty important step. What I'm going to do, and I'm sure somebody's going to have a different way to do it, so it doesn't say to do it like that in the book. I really don't care, to be honest with you. I got my ways of doing things, and they work pretty well for me. So what I like to do is set the valves to open on this particular model, so you can see how this works with your main flapper for the power valve. And I'm just going to set this to wide open, which is right about here, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the auxiliaries. I'm going to turn these, I don't know if you can see in that hole, but I'm going to turn these until the whole port is open and there's no part of the control valve closing or covering that port at all. This is the actuating mechanism. You can see these rack gears are going to tie into these, and this is its wide open position, which is why I prefer to do it like this. If you look at the side, where it's all shiny, this is where it rides against this. It's a telltale sign. So what we did is we checked this, number one, for any kind of wear. This is fine, we're going to run this. And you set this at wide open. You just drop it right in here, and then align your gears with it. Once you've installed the gear, just check for a couple of things. Make sure that its max position is against this pin, and then when you look at these gears, these are teeth that are meant to roll on this rack. The teeth stop here, and it stops here, but lo and behold, that's also where the rack stops. So that should be the last position. The last tooth on that rack should be in the last position with the gear. Next step is to just go ahead and take the other 3 bushings and just drop them in there. I'm to the point where everything's timed. I'm going to take my 2-stroke and just put one last little bit of oil in here. And the next step is we're going to install this locking plate. What that's going to do is hold everything in here where it's supposed to be. And then I'm going to drop my 2 screws in. This tool right here, this is called a posi grip. It says 3/8 KB. That stands for Kenny Butler. Very old guy, really good friend of mine. He actually invented these things. It's pretty simple. It's just like a 3/8 drive extension, but a little bit bigger. You can load it from the back too, so you can put your ratchet on it. And then he knurled it I've had this thing probably 20 years. This is one of those handiest tools I've ever put my hand on. It didn't take off for him. He tried to sell those to Sears like the Ratchet, and he was really passionate about it, but it's kind of neat, and I think about the guy when I use it, but it's pretty cool. It's almost like your quarter-inch drive. I guess I'd be using a quarter-inch drive from my Ratchet set, but this just seems a little better. Once you get this locking plate installed, the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and tighten up the pivot bolts for the flapper valve. Got our power valve with these bolts tight and check for smooth operation, and indeed it does. The one thing I did do that you didn't see, these marks, for all you guys with the manuals, I did check underneath this plate to make sure these marks were lining up with the marks on the gear, and they certainly do. So we've got a nice smooth operating power valve here. Goes to full open and full close. And just for reference, watch this port. Look at the difference in the port timing from close to open. Another thing I'm looking at, for your gearheads, you want to make this go a little faster. I'm not porting this cylinder, the customer doesn't want me to, but you can see in here, look what I'm seeing. There's still room on this power valve for this to actually open up, so a good mod on this particular cylinder would be to go ahead and take this flapper valve and grind it to the top of that port. Okay, next up we're going to tighten up these pivot bolts. I use this stuff pretty much on anything that's a seal in here or an O-ring. Pro Circuit PC03 seal grease. A little pricey, but works. And we'll just drive these in. What that's going to do is make sure that that O-ring goes right in there without getting damaged. Just put a little bit of pressure on these. And that's it. Alright, like I said, when we put these in, I'm just bottoming them out. Now, if you guys didn't pay attention, or you're jumping around a little bit, and you took this and you tightened it up, you're going to have this condition. This doesn't move anymore. That's where these come in. These little locking plates. What I actually do, this is finger tight, and it's just bottomed out. I'll take this, I'm going to back it off just a little bit, maybe an eighth of a turn. Then I'm going to check again for smooth operation of the power valve. That's what you want. So at that point, the power valve's timed, working correctly. These little plates go up in here. And what it's going to do is lock that screw, so that screw's not going to be able to back out. So if these are over tightened, your power valve won't function correctly. So just bottom them out, back them out about an eighth of a turn, and they work fine. Everything's tight, power valve's working great, everything's timed. So what we're going to do next is we're going to put this gasket on, and I'm just going to apply just a little bit of it right here and right here, 1194 case bond, just to hold it in place while I'm putting the cover on. Okay, we went ahead, put all the screws in, tighten them, a little at a time, crisscross pattern, then get in here and do these. So just make sure you X this, come here, just bring everything down, settle it in. These screws are pretty tough. I mean, they look like they're going to break easy, but they actually don't, but definitely don't kill it. Last thing we're going to do is check for free operation of the power valve, and we're still working perfect. Last step, and I'm not going to bore you by watching this, is just these covers go on, and the breather for the power valve goes on this side. It's this piece here. And that's it. You're done. Bag it and tag it.